Welcome. My name is Penelope Chatterton. Welcome to Awaken the Dream. My twin and I are a year older this month, so happy birthday to me and to Pamela, who came 15 minutes after I did, both of us presenting with feet first. So I applaud my mother for that energy. I applaud Tim Riley for directing the program, and he's been at it with me, 4 to 5 years, and we've really begun to nail it. It's wonderful. And this is going to be about spiritual discernment, the healing consciousness of Joel Goldsmith, who received the infinite way. But before I get to Joel, I want to dedicate my program to my late husband, David Albert Bennett, of which I had a striking redhead musical prodigy, of which I had two redheads that were very musical and wonderful as well, and I had red hair once. So anyway, David came into my life, and we lasted 5 years. I just had my second baby at 4 months and a year and 4 months when I lost him to an accident. And what happened, I have to share how grace works. I helped my twin sister out, who is a minister's wife, in her thrift shop on the Cape. Well, we're listening to this amazing piece of music, which I had heard before, but it just went into my heart, and I thought I was going to have to leave the room because I was so overwhelmed with the musicality, the phrasing, the expertise of that. And it brought back a time in my life with David before the kids, like 4 years before the kids came, where we were in Boston. He was at New England Conservatory, organist, Old South. I studied at the conservatory. I was the workhorse for the family because it was my turn. And we just milked the Boston music scene. We were at the symphony, we were at organ recitals, we were everywhere there was the finest. And this particular piece just struck a chord with me to bring all of that up. Now, I haven't seen him in 53 years, so that's kind of interesting that it's time for that recall of that time in my life that was so precious, where the love was so deep, our love for each other, our love of music, our work together as musicians was phenomenal. So I thank David for being in my life. He's still in my life, always will be. And I'm grateful that my kids are turning out well, they're doing their thing, and I'm just very proud. I must also bring in the third child from another marriage because I never want to leave Alex out, because he also is a musician as well as a athletic director. So we're all grateful for all these kids and all their musical stuff. So thank you, David. And thank you, Joe. Now, spiritual discernment. We all have that deep within us. It's there, it's been planted, the Christ mind. I talk about this every single week when I talk about the infinite way, which again was channeled to Joel. He takes no credit for it, which we all have to understand. That is an example of how spirit works with our consciousness, because it's there, waiting for awareness, waiting for us to realize that we are instruments, we are receivers, and the only reason we're here is to raise consciousness in this particular plane. And of course, we all know this plane is very mesmerized, hypnotized with fear, good and evil, two powers, manipulation, greed. It's all here. We were born into that. So that's kind of a huge order for me to go from there to all the spiritual studies I have done, which have been numerous since I was a teenager and had that little out-of-body awareness of perfection, to come to this one, which fits me like a glove, and I just cannot imagine letting it go, because I can't. And that's another thing about your mission. When you absolutely know you're ordained, this is it, this is what I'm here to do, you're slow, you're steady, you never can let it go, because it was given to you, your soul, your heart just vibrates to what Joel received in this incarnation for him. So I'm committed, I will be committed forever, and grateful, because the infinite way is not metaphysics. The infinite way is mysticism. And we're coming off a time in our life where we were looking at, let's get disease cured and let's be healthy. Let's go from being poor to being rich. Metaphysics tried to take something and turn it into something else with a process which now we're beginning to see is in the mortal plane. Because again, we're acknowledging there is a disease or we don't have anything. So that we are letting go and moving up to a plane where we let go of all of that. No more good and evil, no more disease, no more lack. And that demands a great deal of work and meditation from all of us because we're all ordained, every one of us. We all have a soul. This universe is whole, complete, perfect. Our families are perfect. Our jobs are perfect. Our kids are perfect. Everything is wrapped up in the perfection of the Christ. So on that note, we're going to move into why this is so hard. I guess I don't have to tell you that it's hard. And it's hard work, and Joel is the first to admit, because he was trying to find God. And his mom said, "Come on, Joel, that's what you're to do." And he said, "Yeah, but I'm not sure how to do it." He was a businessman. He was a Christian Science practitioner who did brilliant healings. And then all of a sudden noticed some politics coming into his work, noticing some mortal energy, some human energy coming in where he needed to receive and do something different. So what happened was Joel received the infinite way. The voice started to work with him. He wrote 50-odd books. He has many, many tapes, but every single one was channeled to him. And he received, he's the first to say, I had no idea what I was going to say when I was to show up for this particular reading or for this audience who was waiting to hear about mysticism. And even if I didn't know before I went on stage, I was inundated because that's what I was here to do. So he is an example of all of us having a mission, all of us listening. And as Joel will say over and over, none of this will happen if you do not meditate. You have got to be aware, morning, noon, and night, 24 hours a day. You have to tune in. We all have awareness. Our minds are channels for awareness of anything. So we have a mind that is aware, and if what we're aware of, is Joel's trying to tell us, is what we step into. So we have a choice about what we see. Are we going to see this dream? This is awaken the dream. Are we going to see the dream that we are in, or are we going to rise above the fear, the hate, everything else that's here for us to look at and to feel clenched about? And Joel will be the first to say there's plenty to fear here, and we all deal with it. I deal with it before I come here. I'm so concerned I won't do it right, or I won't be perfect at it, or whatever. But it helps me to do my studies because it helps me to let go and just know my surrender, my asking for guidance. As Joel says, God wants to perfect what we're here to do, and he wants to channel all our work. He wants to be in charge. He wants to give us our assignment, but it's not going to happen if we do not be quiet. Be still and know, I am God. God is the cause of our life. He's the principle of why we are here. He gave us the Christ mind. We have everything we need, but we came into this plane, and actually the harder you hurt, the more you suffer, the more you have abandonment issues or loss, the more you will go into this depth. So just think about that. You have friends that have perfect lives that maybe have not had a lot of trauma, and maybe this will never be their lifetime to experience this. However, they will at some point, whether you see it, who cares? But it's just what makes, and that's why I brought up David at the beginning of this show, because having the two babies, and the loss was not just my husband, but having two babies without a dad was a big hurdle for me. And I, had to work really hard. I had an addiction. I had all kinds of things to try and keep going, which I did. As a matter of fact, I honor addictions with people as long as it doesn't kill you or you drink to death. Sometimes in our life, we just have to put Band-Aids on to get through so that we can, when the time is right, we can feel what the loss is, of which this particular David Garrett, violinist, pianist, Julian Quentin, if you wanted to find tempo di minuetto, it's a mind blower. The passion, the phrasing, it lifts you right up. If you ever want to look at it, it was a reminder not only of David, but my oldest child looks like this David Garrett, my Christopher. Anyway, enough of that story. So how are we going to be discerners? How are we going to have the healing consciousness when we think, when metaphysics says, well, think this way to overcome that? And we have to go so much higher than that. We have to literally rise completely from this plane of existence. Now, this obviously is not for everyone or for ears that want to hear this at this point, because we all have politics going on. Even Joel mentioned in this book, look, be responsible citizens, show up, pray about who one should vote for, but don't just sit on a couch thinking God's just going to plow in and scream at you. You do your normal work. You show up in life. You do what you have to do. Constantly meditating, thinking, taking those breaks to give thanks. So, vote. And also, you might really see folks that you vote for have more quality than others, but don't condemn those that don't shine to you. Don't condemn anyone. See beyond any kind of fear, hate, discord, because remember, as I always say, the worst person you know has the Son of God within. Whether he knows it or she knows it does not matter. You want the feedback of the Christ within you that sees the Christ in someone else. If you want the freedom, the liberation, the joy, I love that word freedom, that is yours for letting go, even the best stuff you see. Even Joel says, we're not even here to worry about what's good. We're not to judge that as being, oh, I wish I were like that. Because the good and the evil all balance themselves out. God sees the sinner and the saint. God doesn't care. He has the patience we have got to find. And I am working on that. Penelope is supposed to mean patience, the old widow in mythology unweaving that little rug, waiting for somebody to come back that would make some sense. So patience I never had, and I think it's the red hair thing. I just blame it on that. But extreme sensitivity, and as I say, when you have losses, the depth within you is there waiting for you to help heal you. And the real bottom line with the infinite way is you're not alone. You are to commune with spirit. Ask questions about things that concern you that you can't figure out. I mean, the number one, you see your neighbor, your enemy, everybody as the Son of God. You just switch your thinking, your perception of what looks terrible or wonderful, to letting all of that go and just seeing the love in the heart of everyone. Whether they see it does not matter. That is what's going to come back to you and fill your heart. I think Joel said the only lack in this world that are people that don't know they have hearts, but they're there. That's a lack in this world, which we can help heal by sharing what we know to try and raise consciousness. The inner discernment is there. It's there. We were given it. We are called the I. Let me talk about what Joel says about the I. The I is invisible. I've been here before I came in this time. This I am invisible, sitting right here. Tim over there is invisible. We are invisible. And I love the idea that spirit is just sitting within this realm that we're sitting in, this body, which is part of immortal concepts. We have concepts of health. We have concepts of who God is, which really aren't who God is at all, but we make him up. We make up all kinds of stuff. But when you have grace, that cannot be described. Wisdom, you cannot define or explain to someone what it is. Healing, you can't explain. When something is healed because you did something right on your lifting your consciousness, there's no explanation. It's a mystery. It's grace. We all want the best good for us because, you know, they supply. They even says, Joel says, we all may want supply, but we don't deserve supply. What we deserve is where grace takes us, because grace gives us the supply, maybe far better than what we thought we needed. So yes, everything comes to us. We are protected. We are spoken to. But the trick, of course, is you have got to listen. So listen we will, and be quiet. Never run out of the house in the morning without that quiet time. Have your coffee, doesn't matter. Just, I put on this gorgeous old music, which just lifts me, brings tears to my eyes because I love music so much and it moves me. Yeah, it's a barometer for my life. And then think of all the wonderful, either Bible passages or statements of truth that you love that raise you up. See God as the master controller of the entire perfect universe. Put your arms around the whole world. See everyone as perfection. Anything that worries you, let it go. You've got to nullify fear. You got to step up to the plate on that one, because I'm telling you, we all do fear. We have got to nullify it. We've got to let it go. Find the voice within you. Now, here's another thing that Joel talks about. As he said, don't use any cliches on me. Don't come up and tell me how to live my life or whatever, which we could all, kind of want to do. He just said, all I want is your grace. Yeah, we don't show up on anyone's doorstep that may be having a problem and say, look, you should really look at it this way. We are not judges of anything. If we're asked, that's another matter. But basically, we show up where someone else is. We can take them vitamins in the hospital, I think Joel says, food. We all have ways to serve. But basically, we don't try and tell anybody they should be where we are, because that's really just not going to work. First of all, no one's going to listen to you. And furthermore, it's not going to feel good inside you when you get the rejection or the I'll see you later. Your presence of grace, raising them wherever they are above the fray. And I mean above that. If you want a miracle, if you really want a miracle, you've got a lot of work to do as far as lifting over the metaphysical plane to the perfection plane. Yes, ask God to perfect whatever you're here to do and perform. That's what you really want to do as well, because He gave you talents. He not only gave you talents, but you are all at a different stage and state of your own awareness of who you are. I've been in and out of so many stages where I have dealt with enormous fear and loss, and I still deal with fear, but it keeps me on my toes. If I do the inner work, and every time you have a problem, that's a gift. You got to say, I don't have a problem. If you have it, find a way to surrender it. Go within, commune, as Joel says. Commune with spirit. Get the right perspective on what you see as a problem, which can dissolve if you've got the courage, the energy, and the insight, and the spiritual discernment for healing within you. My friends, we all have it. I show up doing this because I am so hungry for what I am saying. I'm so hungry for that peace. We all have rocky lives. And we want that joy. We want the innocence. We want to feel someone is listening. But nobody's going to hear you if you do not ask, if you don't sit quietly for the still small voice. That's what we're here to do. And do you know what I discovered recently? The way that still small voice comes, which I used to think more was myself, really is God's direction. It comes out of nowhere. It's just exciting. It's a mystery. All of a sudden a head slap of, it fits somewhere you need to go or something you need to do. That's checking in. But that happens again. How do I say meditate enough? Because I'm speaking to myself. Meditate, meditate, meditate. Be quiet. By that, just check in. You can be at your job. Give thanks for spirit in your mind. Be private. And privacy is big with the infinite way. Privacy. Miracles happen in privacy. You are sitting with someone who's in a particular situation, and you can be there in the presence of where that person is, and privately and secretly be doing your homework within you, which will come into the existence of anyone around you. And people find you wherever you are. We don't have to go out and scream for, hey, you got to listen to this particular infinite way stuff. We don't do that. If people want you, they will find you. They'll read a book. They'll find you online. They'll just find you. So yes, patience, dedication, commune. I have to say a lot about commune today. We need to communicate within. So, my friends, God is your cause, the purpose of your life. He's given you an assignment. You could ask for that. I often say, what do you love to do? What have you always wanted to do? Even though you have to make a paycheck, blah, blah, blah. There might be something quietly you can be working on about your future, or about a way you can serve in a way that's invisible. Can't say enough for the fact that the I within us, which is the power, there's no power outside of the Christ within us. There's no power in fear. There's no power in any other dimension but perfection. It's not easy, friends, but the rewards of your work in and out every day as you perceive. Now, here's another thing. It's just coming to me now. When you perceive something and you can't figure it out, it's come into your awareness, all you have to do is say, okay, God, I have decided to become a vacuum here. I don't know what the heck this is. Would you mind giving me a hint? So, of course, what will sweep in is the correct vision. And then you're off the hook. And you can be grateful, saying, okay, that's what my awareness is for. If I see something I can't figure out, then don't try and figure it out. Become empty. Empty as a vacuum. And then you ask, because your buddy is within. Okay, you got a buddy. You're never alone. You know, sometimes people say, God, you got to have big families, you got to do this, you got to have kids, you got to do blah, blah, blah. You don't need to do any of that. We're in a very interesting age where you can even figure out your own sex if you want to think of something different. But the whole idea of never being alone is critical for all of us. You can be in that huge family. You can be alone. You can be anywhere, but you're never, ever, ever alone. You could even be in a situation where it didn't turn out quite that way, but you need to stick in it just because it's the right thing to do. But you then can call on the power within you to love anyway, to tolerate anyway, to forgive anyway. It's magical, my friends. More than magical, it's miraculous. Who of us do not want to walk on water? Well, when things happen to me, I have my friend Diane, who's always a riot, saying, Penelope, you do not walk on water yet, so stop fretting about your back or your feet. I was a toe dancer and a marathoner. Yes, my body has taken a beating. However, I'm also realizing if you're healthy and you're grateful for that, let all of that go as well. You know what? We're in a process. The I of you that's invisible was never born, and it's never going to die, and it's going to be doing things for this consciousness because the awareness is deep within you. And you know, we can run around in a coma of nothingness. If you're not aware of something, you're not aware of something, and you're kind of in this coma of nothingness. You almost don't exist. So what you're aware of is what you express. So if you want to be aware of something, then sink deep within and ask, what am I to be aware of? How can I give my love away? How can I give my talent away? Guide me. Perfect that which concerns me and perform that which you would have me do. There's magic in that. We live on a plane that's mortal, that's human, that's mesmerized, which is a term Joel uses a lot. We're hypnotized. He also says if you want to work in a group as an Infinite Way student, that's wonderful. If you don't, that's wonderful too. You don't have to be in a monastery or a synagogue or a church to be in touch with God. None of that matters. It's a private, secret world. And it's one that's the most active world you will ever touch and feel. It's more active than anything you can do on the outer plane is what goes on within you when you are aware of it. So my friends, I bet you didn't know I was a Joel Goldsmith fan, but I am. Happened maybe 10 years ago, I'm not sure. Awakened the Dreams, almost 27 years old. I went through every path conceivable. It was wonderful. And I loved every one of them. I tried them all. So it's not as though I just jumped into this for the heck of it, thinking, well, I evolved from what I saw as either too much work, frankly. What I ended up saying is just too much work. Meditation is the least amount of work I've ever had to do. I can relax, I can rest in spirit, anywhere I am, as active as I am out in my normal life, or when I deliberately sit and meditate. It's the most active place you will ever go. And you will cultivate that still small voice working with you once you realize it's there. It's a very exciting way to live, and it's the only reason to live. And I have to sort of finish up here, but the only reason to live is to share. We're disciples. I mean, I think at the last chapter of this spiritual discernment book, Joel was saying, you know, we've been sitting at the feet of the master. How about sitting next to him? if you're ordained, just join him. Join him, be him, commune with him, be a part of what Jesus did. All of this, by the way, of course, I maybe haven't said it enough, is Joel is working so hard with what Jesus said. And Buddha did healings before Jesus came along, so mysticism has been out there because we all are I. We all have the invisible I. So long before the famous ones came along to say this is the healing energy, there are many mystics out there doing miraculous work in private. You may never know of them, you may never hear of them, it does not matter. Their work is being done. So my friends, find the I within you, ask, commune. You don't have to be in a temple, a monastery. You don't have to be a king. Poor Jesus, he kept saying to his disciples, you know, you got living waters, you have mansions with many rooms. And the Hebrews just said, look, just overcome my government, please. Take over. So, I mean, that's an example of trying to live the mystical life wasn't easy for Jesus to teach. I mean, he ended up just really, you know, needing those 40 days in the wilderness to say, look, I need this energy to keep working and speaking the truth that I came in and was given. Jesus was a mystic. Everything he did came from God. Even his demise came from God. His being raised came from God. And he accepted it. So my friends, on that note, I will thank you for joining me on Awaken the Dream today. Happy spring. Maybe it'll stop raining. And I will look forward to talking to you again soon.